Hi. So I took in the several couple weeks a lot of cab rides in New York City. I want to show you a little around. So here I go on the Brooklyn Bridge, and the idea behind is I tell you a little more about the strategy of Warren Buffett, how he invests, and I just read the book of Mary Buffett. It's She wrote it 4 years ago. She was married with Peter Buffett, that's the son of Warren, and they lived for many years together. And so she wrote a book about how Buffett, the genius, how he invests, and it's quite interesting. So he buys companies that have a moat, that are protected, that have an advantage, and that have a large market share, so they can charge higher prices. He likes companies with with a great image, and so they run kind of a monopoly. Think about Coca-Cola, think about Moody's, think about Procter and Gamble, P&G, Walmart, market leader. No one really can compete with them. They are so huge, unbelievable huge. How do you want to build up such an empire and attack Walmart? They are not just in the US, they are in South America, they are everywhere, they are in Asia, they are in Europe, and also you find it some energy companies that are locally, that are in the region, kind of in a situation that they run a monopoly. Think about railroads. You just wouldn't put rails next to another rail. So Burlington Santa Fe was the reason why Warren Buffett bought it. It's very much protected. And because of their strong market position, you have a very little risk of a failure. Because if you have like Coca-Cola, I don't know how the market share is, like 50-60%, and there's just Pepsi around, and the rest you can forget in the beverage industry. And so because of that strong position, Buffett buys for the long run. He buys his stocks for decades, and so he benefits from this success of those companies and the compounded interest. As he takes the dividends, he benefits through stock buybacks. Like Washington Post buys back the own stock like crazy, so they reduce it since their IPO brutally. That's why the stock goes up, and Buffett performs through the price increase and the dividend, and has not to pay any taxes by now, because he hasn't sold a piece of a stock. So that's the compound interest that he benefits from. So if you take a look at Warren Buffett's life, the whole thing is about continuity, steadiness. He's like living in the same house what he has bought, I think 1957, in Omaha, Nebraska, and he lives there. He hasn't moved. He bought it for some $30,000, and he's still around. Even he's a multi-billionaire. He buys used old cars and drives them as long as he can. He's not a spender. He's a saver. Value investing is a philosophy. It's how you deal in life with things. It's not just in investments. It means also that you should live below your means, and it's you can see it at Warren Buffett's life. He's not a show off. He doesn't care about driving great cars or living in a villa that costs endlessly money and having butlers. He doesn't really care. He drives himself to work. Also, when you take a look at the companies Buffett buys, oh, here I am, I think close, that's in the 20s in New York, by the way, in Manhattan. I think it's called Cooper Town or Cooper Village. I'm not 100% sure. I'm waiting here. So back to Buffett. If he buys companies, how does he pick them? Besides that huge market share, he picks them, and he looks like 10 years back, 12 years, 15 years back, and he wants that they
Oh, this is
grow
Peter Cooper.
steadily, and that there's no setback, that the revenue has to go up permanently, the earnings, the EPS, the earnings per share, the dividends, the cash flow, everything should grow. It's not necessarily needed for him that it explodes. He's like a fan. If a company grows like 5%, 10%, 12% a year in revenues and increases maybe the earnings per share a little faster, he's happy with that. He doesn't need these crazy growth rates. He just wants a steady improvement. He wants low leverage. He doesn't like that. A lot of that he doesn't like in a company, and so he looks at a small overhead. He doesn't like a lot of costs in companies. He doesn't like crazy CEO pays. He doesn't like a huge management. He doesn't like an expensive sales team. He doesn't like a lot of spendings for research and development. He doesn't like a lot of capex because he wants to make a lot of cash for the company. So as a shareholder, he can benefit through stock buybacks. He can benefit through dividends. And that's actually it. Or through takeovers or for expansion. You need that cash to expand the company and the business. And when he looks at it, and so he takes a look at the real numbers. That means he doesn't like this stuff that is created like EBITDA, earnings before interest, amortization and stuff. He looks just at the earnings, and he looks at maybe at the earnings before taxes, but that's it, at the EBT. But yeah, he reads the reports, the annual reports, and he not necessarily talks to the CEO. He's just happy with the stuff he finds in their reports and in their main filings. And so, yeah, that's the strategy of him. It's a long term. He buys for decades. He never sells it. The greatest stock he bought, he tries to keep them forever because he's happy. He doesn't have to pay any taxes, and that's what you also should do. It's actually easy to copy his strategy. You buy great companies. You find them in the Dow Jones and the S&P 500. Years ago, he takes some pictures. I saw him out of the cab. It was funny. And yeah, that's what it's actually. I would recommend you to do the same. Find great companies in the Dow Jones, buy them, and keep them, and benefit through the compounded interest effect. Don't get crazy. Don't check the stock price every day. Just keep it for the long run. If you keep it for decades, I think you will have a great time when you retire, because you can make a lot of money. Okay, that's all for today, and now I arrived with the cab.